be heard.
We will.
We will organize.
This may be the only time that I agree with a bunch of liberal know-nothing celebrities.
We will.
But you really should vote.
Vote.
It's the ultimate freedom. Today, the left will have you believe Trump is the one putting this freedom in danger forever.
He doesn't plan to have fair elections.
But when you have three groups, the Democratic Party,
we're now calling it voting at home, this becomes a health issue.
the mainstream media, and Hollywood,
some states won't allow you to turn in an absentee ballot without an excuse.
all pushing a new method for how to vote, you know things are getting dangerously political. The left argues sending people to the polls to vote will be deadly.
No American will have to choose between voting and keeping themselves safe.
But mail-in ballots have been proven time and time again to pose way more long-lasting dangers to the American people than this virus could ever be. The fraud could potentially steal this election from you. Democrats are looking for an insurance policy in case anything with Biden goes wrong.
You know, the rapidly rising I don't know.
And as the left says,
every crisis is an opportunity.
Well, the COVID-19 pandemic is serving it up on a platter. Another opportunity for Democrats to get what they want. And tonight, I'll show you just how much danger our republic will be in if they do. Tonight, the enemy within. The Democrats' plan to rig election 2020. Hello, America, and welcome to the program. I've got my mask ready to go because I'm a sheep. I'm a citizen, and I want to do the right thing. So if anybody comes within 6 feet, this goes immediately on my face. Got a shocking development for you here today. Just like every other aspect in American life, the method we now use to vote doesn't work anymore, and it's become political. Watch.
You're saying that voter fraud is a thing, and I'm telling you that it's not. And you're muddying the waters. This is just pointless. Okay? This is pointless. I get it. You're just saying a bunch of crap. Okay? You're saying a bunch of crap.
I love that. Whoever has the loudest voice wins, I guess, now. No, it's not a bunch of crap. Democrats, mainstream media are all in on voting by mail, and you will understand why by the end of this program. And you'd like to believe that it's just because they hate Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is for that, and hydroxychloroquine. Can you imagine if you voted for hydroxychloroquine, and sent that in the ballot? Oh my gosh, their heads would pop. But the president has rightly pointed out that there are problems with voting by mail, including fraud. Democrats and the media say he's lying. There's no evidence of fraud whatsoever. Well, we'll show it to you tonight. You'll get the typical headlines every day like this. Trump again assails mail-in voting. President has been raging against voting by mail for several months. Note that the president doesn't simply criticize voting by mail or point things out. He assails, he rages against it. From CNN, Stephen Miller carries the water in promoting mail-in voting conspiracies. You see, Trump's not raging about it. He's spreading conspiracy theories. By the way, Democrats and the media are lying when they say voting by mail is totally harmless with absolutely no fraud. In just the next 20 minutes, you will see the stats and you will understand exactly why they're doing this. And it could bring us to the brink, if not civil war, if we don't share with our neighbors. Now, if Joe Biden was conscious enough to understand what was going on all around him, I would think that he would be kind of insulted that his party has so little confidence in his ability to defeat President Trump in the election on his own, that they've got to keep him propped up in his basement, and now all hands on deck to try to handicap the election with a hardcore push for mail-in voting. Watch.
Voting by mail is easy, secure, and the healthiest and safest way to cast your ballot.
It's not.
You can vote by mail while you are socially distancing and stay at home.
Yeah.
Just as we adapt to new norms to protect ourselves and our loved ones, we must also adapt to how we conduct our elections.
This is exactly why Stacey and I are teaming up. Because no American should have to choose between their right to vote and their own personal safety.
So they're not pushing this because, just so Biden can win. They're not pushing it for your safety. Well, I mean, they're saying it's for the people. Every person can vote safe from the ravages of COVID. It's the only way. Well, there's an automatic assumption on the left that COVID and the situation won't be improved by November 3rd. And we don't know. Could be worse. I don't know. But therefore, states that are not rushing to change their election laws at the last minute to make it easier for everyone to vote by mail, they're bad people. They hate America, and they're racist because they must be for Trump. So what is it we're talking about here? Mail-in voting or absentee voting? Well, they're kind of the same thing. Absentee voting started during the Civil War to enable Union soldiers to vote from the field when they couldn't make it back to their polling place in their hometown. Absentee voting is a necessity for Americans working overseas, for many disabled Americans, for military personnel in situations like that. But requesting an absentee ballot, when you do that, it comes with safeguards and it creates a paper trail. Simply mass mailing ballots out to every registered voter in a state doesn't have the same ID security measures. Since states run our elections, we don't have any uniform nationwide vote by mail laws. That's important. States run the election, not the federal government. In 7 states, including where I live in Texas, for example, to receive a mail-in ballot, you have to have an excuse beyond, I don't know, I'm afraid of the virus. You could vote because you could lie and say, I got to be at work that day and I can't vote, and you could get an absentee. But in 28 states, there is no excuse needed to request a mail-in ballot. 8 states send all registered voters an application to vote by mail. And 7 states, plus the District of Columbia, now just send in the ballots to every voter that's registered. What could possibly go wrong? Democrats are convinced that if there is no voter suppression and 0 hurdles to voting, the Democrats will easily win every time because dead people and illegals, they can railroad all those people easily. But just in case, they want to put in some mechanisms, you know what I mean? Put them in place so we can collect all the votes and maybe I'm just saying, twist a few arms, you know what I mean? I mean, legally twist. In May, the House Democrats passed the HEROES Act bill, which now mandates from the federal government something known as ballot harvesting across the nation. And yes, it is as spooky as it sounds. This bill would allow paid activists to canvass neighborhoods to collect people's mail-in ballots. It says states shall permit a voter to designate any person to return a voted and sealed absentee ballot. Oh, well, this bill would force states to allow 10 days to resolve a signature issue on a ballot. And it would also permit voters to present, quote, a sworn written statement attesting to the individual's identity. So you got a little pinky square box there. You're like, yep, that's me. If it's checked, no ID. What's the problem? What could possibly go wrong? You cannot underestimate how drastic these measures are. States determine the election laws, yet this is the House Democrat overriding all of those laws and writing federal regulations. Not only that, but they slipped it into a giant coronavirus bill. I mean, people need money. Why don't we just throw this in? Nobody will look. Well, you don't have to look very hard to see how ballot harvesting can go very wrong. Compared to most states, Florida has much looser laws about who can collect and turn in absentee ballots. So there was an investigation by the Palm Beach Post, a very conservative paper, that found in 2016 2 Democrats. What a surprise, huh? A Palm Beach County commissioner and a state House member, quote, took advantage of the gaping holes in Florida's vote by mail laws to pressure and cajole voters in their living rooms. In one case, a blind voter says the candidate, Mac Bernard, filled out and signed his ballot. In other cases, residents said candidates watch over their shoulders, telling them who they should vote for. One woman said she felt pressured by a persistent candidate who worked his way and talked his way into her home and dug her ballot out from a stack of discarded mail, end quote. The Palm Beach Post investigation found, quote, ballots may have been requested without the voter's knowledge, end quote. The two Democratic candidates, Bernard and Jacquet, used daily updates from the elections office detailing when ballots were being sent to voters, allowing them or their workers to visit voters' homes when the ballots hit their mailboxes. Once mail-in ballots were signed and sealed, voters said they gave the ballots to the candidates or campaign workers for delivery to the elections office. Currently, 6 states require voters to get a signature from a witness on their mail-in ballot. But how oppressive is that? Minnesota and Rhode Island also used to require a witness signature, but they recently changed this law, for this election. Mississippi, Missouri, and Oklahoma require mail-in ballots to be notarized, which is good. But if you're going to go to that trouble, why not just go to the polling place in person? Now, naturally, the ACLU is suing multiple states to get rid of the requirement that voters get a witness signature on their mail-in ballot. The Democrat-controlled state legislature of Nevada, who would have thunk that, recently rushed through a bill that even allows someone else to fill out your mail-in ballot, for you. I'm sure nothing in Nevada, nothing's going to go wrong. The left is mounting a full-scale, coordinated effort to change election laws in your state. Soon, your dog will probably be eligible to vote. I mean, only if he's dead. The National Vote at Home Institute works to remove legislative and administrative barriers to the vote-at-home systems. Wait a minute. I mean, could you throw a safeguard in there to make sure that your vote, counts in the mail-in vote ballot? Can you make sure that they're secure? No, we're busy on legislative and administrative barriers to be overcome. The National Vote at Home Institute is very well funded, of course, by many of the usual left players. In addition to the ACLU, its partners include Common Cause, which is supported by George Soros' Open Society Institute and the Tides Foundation. The Democracy Initiative, founded by the executive director of Greenpeace and the former president of NAACP, it works on a variety of left-wing agendas, including fighting voter ID laws and limiting Senate filibusters to block legislation. Oh, and the League of Women Voters, also funded by George Soros and his Open Society Institute, supports initiatives to allow anyone with a driver's license to vote regardless of citizenship. The league also supports taxpayer-funded abortion on demand, gun control, and universal health care. I'm sure they want every conservative vote to count. Now, besides the National Vote at Home Institute, another far-left donor network called Way to Win, nice subtlety there, has partnered with George Soros and his Open Society Institute to donate $59 million so far to promote and expand voting by mail. So let me get this straight. They got $60 million sitting right there. Can you give it to the poor people that are struggling at the post office? I mean, I'm just saying, please? No, because Donald Trump is strangling all of the postal workers with their own letter carrier bag. Democrats are working overtime to use the pandemic as a springboard to achieve things they've always wanted. Universal voting to include illegal immigrants and anyone with a driver's license. Although they don't actually want you to have to show your driver's license to vote or any other form of ID because, do I need to say it? It's racist. You know it. Are you white? Racist. This notion that voting by mail is not ripe for fraud and other problems defies logic. Of course it is. When you don't vote in person, there are many ways for the vote to go wrong. Many of you moved this year. Maybe you did that, but you still received a ballot from your original home state that you can't legally use. Like this Wall Street Journal reporter who just recently moved to Texas from Washington State. And Washington is supposed to be the model vote-by-mail state because they've had universal mail-in voting since 2011. Now, My question is, how many dead people will be said ballots? How many dead people will actually magically fill out those ballots and send them back in? We told you a couple of weeks ago there was a story of a dead cat that got a ballot. According to the latest study on this that we could find, the answer to those questions is a lot is going to happen. A 2012 Pew Research study found 24 million voter registrations across the U.S. are inaccurate or outdated. 2 million dead people remained on the rolls. 2.75 million people are registered in more than one state, remember? And they're purging the voter rolls of dead people. In Nevada's primary this year, over 223,000 ballots in the state's most populous county were sent to invalid addresses. Well, I could be wrong. Those undeliverable ballots made up 17% of total ballots mailed to registered voters. And that's one county in one state. And yet Democrats want to make it easier than ever. Trust the Postal Service. Have you ever lost a piece of mail? Next, I want to show you how Democrats in the media are verifiably lying through their teeth when they say there's no evidence of fraud or voting by mail, and you will begin to see why they are doing this. The evidence next.